another episode of Tales of Middle-earth, and I am back with another preview or vlog, I should say, not preview because it's the entire video, vlog of construction of Lake Town. I believe this is now part 4, and I also believe that this is going to be the last video that I have for the construction of Lake Town. And why do I say that? Because I have a fair size Lake Town board. There's a little bit more that I have to sort of add in there. I do have another kit in the house that I'm going to do a unboxing video with before I paint it, and then I'm probably going to do a painting tutorial of how I painted the wood effects and the houses and such, and I'll probably throw that on my Patreon account for any of my Patreons, so that way they can check it out there. We'll see what happens, but so this is the final construction of Lake Town video that I'm doing, just because I am satisfied with it. There's a couple of things that I could tweak. I had a suggestion, great idea actually, by someone to throw on some snow flock, like just a dusting of it onto the houses and stuff like that. I might do that eventually if when I get some snow flock, but as of right now, I don't have any, so I am at a finished state with my board. It is big enough to play on. I will have, like I said, another one kit in the house. I already have another one coming, so there will be a couple more houses I can throw on there with more walkways and stuff like that, but what I have does fill up the board quite well. I really gotta say, it's been fun to paint up the Lake Town board and to get it to where it is. Sort of put like a fire under my butt to get me going also with my Lake Town militia and that army, just because that's going to be my predominant army that I'll be using probably on this board, and this board will be an awesome sort of scenario board, also a great demo board for when I go out to events, stuff like that. Like I'm running a demo and game day January 7th at Brew Wizards in Oshawa, Ontario. I'm opening it up to the public for everybody that wants to show up there. I'm going to have a poster there so it promotes it, and hopefully we can treat more players to come play. With that said, I want this board to be the main sort of center focus for that game day, just because it does look good, in my opinion. But without further ado, let's take you down into the ice-cold waters of Escaroth and Lake Town, and we'll show you the board. So there you have it. We just walked through the walkways and timbered pathways of Escaroff. It has taken me quite some time to get to this point with work and kids and everything else. And I would have had this video out a few days earlier, but my computer's been acting up, so it went away to get fixed. So it's a passion, or a labor of love, I guess you can say, because once I got into it again, it just kept on rolling, and it wasn't overly hard to do the painting because it was all primarily dry brushed with some other stuff added on. But what really was more time consuming, I found, was actually the snow effects, because I didn't have proper sculpting like tools. I guess I could buy some from like Amazon or GW or whatever, but to lay on the snow I was using my paintbrush, and it just wasn't the best instrument to get the job done. Not that I couldn't make do, because I did, and I think it looks half decent, and the snow on top of the brown sort of helps pop and bring out some of those colors, I think, a little bit, changes it up so it's not just pure brown all over the board. But I think the snow was the hardest part, on not so much like the barricades or whatnot, but more like the roofs of the buildings. And the walkways were pretty simple for the most part until I got into like the center of the flat areas, and it was harder to sort of manipulate where I wanted the snow exactly to be. I tried adding slight color variations into the board with the canoes, so I didn't do all the same painting techniques or all the same amount of paint onto the canoes as I did the walkways. So I think I did my brown primer, gray dry brush, and a yellow dry brush to bring the canoes up to where they are, just so there's a little bit of variation again in the browns. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. Ice flows, I finished those off. It was quite interesting. Again, as I explained before, my brother-in-law, then my son broke a storage container, and I hadn't had sort of that, like that misty sort of plastic color, and a Slate-O peg to it. And so I broke a whole bunch of pieces into smaller pieces and trimmed off some corners, stuff like that, and that's what I'm using for my ice flows. It's actually, I think it's quite good. I could make more if I need to, because I've got a bunch more of this plastic in the house, but I'm not sure if I need to, especially when I add on the two other Lake Town houses that I'll be getting. So yeah, that's that. I have all the scatter, well, I shouldn't say all, but the majority of the scatter trains, such as the barrels and the sacks, they're all painted up, and those it was really quick and easy. I didn't want to do anything too in-depth with them. So for the sacks, they were primed like a hunter green color. I shouldn't say hunter green, I should say almost like a camel green color, olive maybe. And I just did a brown wash over just to darken up the recesses and stuff like that. And then with the barrels, primed those brown, dry brush them gray, and then just, again, Agrex Earthshade. It's a lovely tool to get a job done quickly. So that's that. Everything else, I think I explained the colors and that for those in earlier videos. So if you're just checking out this video for the first time, make sure you go back and check out the others. If you're interested in seeing how I actually painted these kits, what I did from beginning to the end, I'm going to do a quick tutorial and put it on my Patreon link, so you can check that out there. And if you haven't already checked out Patreon for Blackfyre Productions, please do. It allows me to get projects such as these going, and more, hopefully in time. So I think that's it. I can't wait to get these guys on a board. I actually start playing a game with them. I think over the Christmas holidays I have a couple of friends that might be interested in bringing some factions down. So I have a friend that is working on his Hunter Orc faction right now, and so he has a whole bunch of guys, and we're gonna do Lake Town Militia. I know they're not the guard, but Lake Town Militia probably versus Hunter Orcs, and we'll go from there. I'm still working on my Lake Town Militia. Actually, I got another, I don't know, dozen guys inside that I got to build, and I wanted to get one last warband or 12 guys with that $80 deal. $80 Canadian. I think it's like 40 Great British pounds, and probably something like 60 US dollars. But it's $80 in Canada. I'm gonna get another one of those, so that way I should have 4 war bands in total for my Lake Town Militia. Maybe a 5th. Who knows? We'll see what happens over Christmas. So anyhow, guys, Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, ignite your hobby.